We're going to dive into 10 unsettling episodes throughout cartoon history and explore the heart-wrenching details in each of these disturbing moments. Timmy's Secret Wish. The hour-long special revolved around Timmy Turner doing his last batch of wishes as he was coming close to 1,000,000. His wishes are then celebrated, however in doing so, it basically revealed the destruction that he had caused as a result of the wishes. Timmy is then placed onto trial to determine if he was the worst fairy god kid ever, and one of the evidence placed onto him was of the secret wish he had made. Timmy admits that he made a secret wish to Cosmo, and wished that he would forget after he granted it. Timmy states that he secretly wished to stay 10 years old so he could keep his fairy godparents forever.
I secretly wish that everyone would stop aging so that I could stay 10 years old and keep my fairies forever.
What? When did you make this wish?
50 years ago?
So Timmy is technically 60 years old and has been holding on such a dark secret for half a century. That's wild. And not only that, was this the unconfirmed reason why other characters in other cartoons don't ever age up? Dude really became a villain within a second. The Bag of Kittens. As per usual, Tom was chasing Jerry once again, however in this situation, it led to Tom accidentally getting himself crushed by the grand piano, which resulted in his death. A golden escalator appears which took Tom's soul into the sky, into the golden gates of the Heavenly Express train. As Tom reached the gate, he sees the other souls of the cats who have died. The first one died in a fight with a bulldog, the next one was struck in the head with a flat iron, and the other one was flattened to death by a steamroller. And it only became unsettling as it showed the next set of victims. Fluff, Muff and Puff were the next set of cats entering the gates, and it is seen that all three kittens are in a wet sack, alluding that they were killed by suffocating and drowning in a pool of water, and this was possibly done by the owners abandoning them. This felt highly uncomfortable as this situation is way too real, as I know for a fact millions of owners worldwide have ditched their pets in the middle of nowhere or even done worse things. Jurassic Park. Fry discovers that the preserved remains of his pet dog Seymour had been cryogenically frozen since the 20th century. The episode concludes with Fry seeing that Seymour had lived for over a decade since his disappearance, causing him to have a change of heart and aborting the cloning process. He believed that Seymour had moved on with his life, found a new owner, and forgotten all about him. But through a series of flashbacks, it only provides Seymour's loyalty to his owner and waits for Fry's return till the day that he died. I believe this story takes inspiration from the real-life event of Hachiko, whose owner died at work and he patiently waited for his owner at the train station until he died. The episode concludes with a touching bittersweet ending that highlights the enduring impact of a dog's love and loyalty to its owners. The Puppetmaster. Aang and the gang seemingly encounter a friendly old woman named Hama and discovers that she is also a waterbender from the Southern Water Tribe. Hama and Katara started bonding together, but as the episode proceeds, the gang uncovers that she has been tormenting the villagers in the area and chaining them into the mountains. It also comes to the climax as it reveals Hama's twisted and cruel technique to capture her victims.
Blood bending, controlling the water in another body, enforcing your own will over theirs.
Hama later explains that she developed the technique while being captive during war, and how she disturbingly trained her bending to become stronger and escape from her capturers. While being a filler, the episode briefly explores how the traumatic effects of war can do to a person, as well as the desperate choices individuals will have to do when faced with difficult circumstances. And in this case, she takes the tough decision of learning how to bloodbend to save the gang and defeat Hama. But Katara falls into tears, knowing that she fell exactly into Hama's traps, and now has let Hama's twisted legacy to live within her. Are you happy now? It starts with SpongeBob asking what Squidward's happiest memory was, and as he starts to deeply think about it, he sadly admits that he doesn't have a happy memory to remember. A montage reveals that SpongeBob tries his best to create a happy memory for Squidward, but it all results in quite the opposite. This then caused Squidward to become increasingly unhappy with his bland routine and unfulfilling life in the Bikini Bottom. And while showing his unhappiness, there are a few dark jokes that hint at him taking his own life. From the rope alluding him that he's going to hang himself, and when Squidward's putting his head into the oven, and to top it all off is what SpongeBob said.
Well, at least we know he's still alive.
Thankfully, Squidward's sadness is finally resolved as he destroys dozens of paper maches of SpongeBob, finally gaining a twisted yet happy memory to remember. Mother Simpson. The episode starts with Homer faking his own death in order to avoid a highway cleanup, which causes problems for him later on. But as he tries to fix his mistake, Homer discovers that his supposedly dead mother, Mona Simpson, is actually alive. As they reconnect, Mona reveals her backstory of living underground as a fugitive activist for decades and the reasons for her disappearance. And as you think deeply about the story, you can start to put together how Mona's negligence really took a toll on Homer. The constant gags of Homer being an alcoholic, or the dysfunctional relationship dynamic of Homer with his dad and even his family. Within the episode, Homer is seen to be struggling with being neglected and abandoned by his once thought loving parent, highlighting how his traumatic issue is still haunting him as a full-grown adult. What makes it worse is that Homer's reconnection with his mother resulted in the authorities coming over, causing Mona to flee again. Even though Mona and Homer has one last heartfelt moment together, the episode just ends on a depressing note as Homer stares at the sky into the night, wondering if he'll ever see his mother again. Rewatching this episode just hurts, as it explores the heartwarming yet bittersweet reality of family and abandonment. Intervention. As Aunt May is in the hospital, Peter Parker is found to be so selfish, so money hungry, and constantly alienating himself from his loved ones, even though they were trying to help. And this was because of the soul-sucking parasite known as the Venom symbiote. As Peter reaches one of the lowest points of the show, he repeatedly uses the symbiote suit to ease the pain of what's happening in his life. It eased Peter at first, but it only led him to enhance the darkest aspects of his personality, causing him to hurt everyone around him. The episode then shows Peter trying to tackle his own personal issues, forcing him to have his own intervention to get rid of the symbiote once and for all. This moment was done so perfectly, as the symbiote can symbolize many traumatic issues that people suffer from, such as substance abuse, addictions, and even toxic relationships. And it's done so well, as there are also many moments where Peter almost gave up, referencing how victims will sadly fall back into their abusive cycle again, but also highlights how supportive family and friends will always be to help you overcome your addiction.
Still slow on the uptake, huh? You're a disease. They're the cure.
This episode was able to flawlessly tackle real-life traumatic issues that people sadly suffer from, but in a way that was understandable for younger audiences, while still making the message crystal clear for the older viewers. Stan's anorexia. Steve meets a girl called Debbie, who he later dates and makes dinner plans with to meet the rest of his family. However, as Stan sees Debbie, he is shocked, disgusted, and horrified that his son's girlfriend is overweight. Stan is then ridiculed by Francine and Haley for being a hypocrite, as he is seen to be also letting himself go. This takes a mental toll on Stan, as he starts to get an unhealthy obsession with his weight. Stan then meets a personal trainer that constantly puts him down and makes him do any other vigorous exercises. The next scenes show how Stan's physicality has negatively affected him, causing his family to have an intervention for him about his weight problem, but not for being overweight. Stan has become a human skeleton at this point, revealing that he had been suffering from anorexia. With this, it's also revealed how the PT is all in Stan's mind, representing the social pressure that people place on themselves to constantly be in shape. Luckily, after seeing how much Steve and Debbie cared about one another, Stan recognizes his struggles and starts to eat food again, causing the PT to disappear and ending Stan's mental battle with anorexia and being reunited with his family. The episode doesn't hold back in showing the audience about the constant disturbing actions and physique of Stan and other anorexic victims in order to highlight the sad reality of what people and their families actually have to deal with in their day-to-day life. April 9th. On April 9th, it started just as a normal day of school, until suddenly a fire had ignited, causing everyone to panic and evacuate out of the building. Everyone managed to get out, but the incident left people injured or traumatized by what had happened. The rest of the episode then explores the aftermath of the incident, centering on each of the main characters' reactions and the effects of the fires. This episode was created in order to respond to the devastating terrorist attack of 9/11 the year prior, and each of the characters' subplot was to explore and focus more on their trauma response to the incident. A video by Horses covers and explains the story more in depth, so you can go check it out, but I'll briefly just go over my favourite subplot. Sue Ellen's story focuses more on the grieving process. In the episode, a scrapbook that was so dear and meaningful to Sue Ellen was burnt and destroyed due to the fires, causing her to be unhappy. Her peers tries to give her another scrapbook, however, she refuses as it will not replace her original scrapbook. It takes a while, but from the comfort, patience, and support of her peers, she's able to move on and use the new scrapbook, and even put an image from her old scrapbook onto the new one. This subplot is personally my favourite, as it represents how she can move on with her life while keeping the memories of her past still close to her heart. The other subplots within the episode were also extremely well done. Arthur's story centered on his anxiety as he worries that his father will be hurt every time he leaves the house. Buster's story reflects how traumatic events can still impact the lives who are personally unaffected, and Binky's stories revolved around his PTSD from the incident and how it starts to negatively affect his life. The episode ends with each kid being able to process their trauma and move on with their life post-fire, as I hopefully wish that the real life victims did. Even though all of these moments are from kid-friendly shows, it is also disturbing to recognize all of the hidden messages behind each episode and how it reflects real life issues.